Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 17th at 7 p.m. and this is the Water Pollution Control Authority's monthly meeting for July. We have a posted agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
I would like to add to a discussion of current projects, the discussion of the Durrell Place pump station.
We already have that under new business 4A. So anything else? All right. So item number 2, bills and communications, approval of the June 19th meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? Second. Discussion? None. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on. Old business, item 3A, to discuss and revote on 131 Beach Road extension approval, date from July 2025 to November 2025. So this is it's an administrative change. We had approved it to expire next July, but I believe that the whole thing was initially approved in November instead of July, and so we're just updating.
That is correct.
I don't believe we need any discussion. Does anybody have any questions on it or?
And the only thing I would add to that is chatting with our attorney, the judge did rule against us. He allowed the tolling. Thank you. He allowed the tolling. Administratively, we would have lost the case
That's
if we didn't.
fine.
Just as a point of information, nothing.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. All right, so all in favor?
We need a motion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, motion.
Motion to revote on 131 Beach Road extension approval date from July 2025 to November 2025.
Second.
Second by Joe. All in favor? Aye, unanimous. Thank you. All right. Item number 3B, update on current projects. Number 1 is the East Trunk Line project. Who's talking about that one? All right.
Trunk line project, phases 1 and 2, which were combined, received bids that were total $26 million. This board had approved $13.5 million in funding. And so we had a dilemma. You have 3.75 million in grants, 13.5 million in authorizations, and so we're short 13 million. With when we added the contingencies, the design contingencies in the field, and owner contingency, which total 15%, I believe. We had exactly what I said. So we had a discussion with the administration. Everyone knows how vital this project is. And so the administration would like to report on their solution for funding this. So, Mr. First Selectman.
I mean, this is all preliminary, right? We're not voting, no voting tonight. We haven't cleared this through any other boards, but it would be my expectation that we would ask for this to be funded by the town because of the vital nature of getting this done and the economic impact on the town. I don't think I really have anything more to report other than that basic I think, for me, a logical conclusion. Peter, do you want to add anything? That's it.
No, it's, the only, for the additional amount, yeah, there's a lot of discussion about all these projects as they come down the line and where things get divvied up. This does seem like something that, there's sort of shared, benefit responsibility component to it. There's certainly an economic development piece with this. Just realize on the WPCA side that when the town takes something, it's leaving capacity potentially on the WPCA side, just like the town should realize that when it puts something on the WPCA, vice versa. I've long said, my thoughts are when the chips sort of fall, that it's probably going to end up roughly half in one bucket and half in another bucket. So, what that timing looks like is, and which specific projects, there's a couple ways to do it, but this would be one way that if the town picked up a chunk of it, it's, pretty logical in that there's an economic development piece that's very clear to the town to get the benefit on it. We are going to need to bring, no matter what happens and how this is funded, we are going to have to bring back a full clean resolution. This was done in phases. It was approved, authorized by the board and others under several different, this board actually 3 times, the other bodies in town, the boards twice in different phases, and then bid it as one big package. That's all going to have to get cleaned up. And I would just note in that there was some wording about utilization of the fund versus bonding and some grant wording. And I think we do want to dive into that, because I know I've spoken a couple of times about trying to use the fund as more of an offset for future debt service. And we can come back with a proposal as to what that would look like. It's something very similar to what we're doing on the town side. But it's really all just an eye of keeping the rates and taxes and all those things at bay as we ramp spending up.
Yeah, I mean, from a engineering perspective, project certainly needs to get done. I'm not a finance expert, so I'll defer to others on what the best way to pay for it, but that seems logical to me, and prices are not coming down, so doing it sooner and we've got a bunch of projects coming up that kind of rely on this work getting done. So, anybody else have any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Just to clarify, when you said the phase 1 and phase 2, they were both included in your number? And was the 15% also included in that number?
Let me give you the numbers. Just let me go through this real quick. So the final bid was $24,925,350. This board authorized bonding for $13,500,000. We had grants for $3,750,000. And we had a total approved budget of $17,250,000 at that point. We had expenditures, of course, because we had to develop the plans to bid on and the like. And remaining for construction out of that 17 million and change was 15,246,000. So the bid's 24,925,000. We were required to make up 9,679,000 for the project. We have design contingencies and construction contingencies, which caused the total makeup to become 13,418,000. So this panel, this board authorized 13,500,000. The town is going to try to make up 13,418,000 to ensure that this project can go forward. The last thing you should know is that this is going to take a while. It has to go through all the boards and commissions. We have to make presentations to them, explain to them what happened. And it's more than likely that the approvals won't occur all boards and commissions approval won't be finalized until mid-September. RTM doesn't meet in August. That's what we're looking at for final approval. We've had the contractor agree to extend his bid to October 18th in anticipation of this. So that's phase one, phase two, East Trunk.
So, assuming that things move forward cleanly, when would be anticipated construction start then? Beginning of next year? Or would they actually start
The
anything?
end of this year, beginning of next year.
Chris?
One question, Bucky, I had is that, because you were saying that we had authorized up to, it was between the grants and everything, it was 17,250,000. And now, right now, we have, out of that, we have 15,246,000. Just a general question, because you got $2 million there in planning and
1,965,000.
where, what was that? What was,
Design.
that was all design? That was from
Package. Yeah, pick up Cardinals.
and then the extra borings and all the other stuff that we had. Okay.
Sorry, if I could this is Christine Pacelli, if I could just interject, that cost also covers construction inspection, design support during the construction.
That was a
That
big
extra 2 million. We have specialized inspections, environmental inspections that have to take place during the construction.
So not all that spent.
Not, oh,
No.
okay. None of that's, okay. Understood.
Some of it's spent.
Yeah, but we haven't.
Design work is spent, but that 2 million is inclusive of both what's been spent as far as extras plus
Yeah.
the,
And do we,
SDC.
does the town Public Works have any prohibition opening roads up in the winter time?
You know, it can be done. It's all about the backfill. It's all about the last 4 feet. Right? They go back in. It has to be compacted to 95%. If that can be achieved, we'll do it.
And they're gonna have surcharges for winter work? Okay.
It's an 18-month project, I believe, 18 months to 2 years. And I believe is the upper project, phase one.
wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Phase two is more conventional, yet 24-foot cut.
Yeah. In the road.
So let me ask, thank you first of all for your generosity. Obviously, there's two components of capital. One is, does the town have the ability, and I'm going to assume the town has the ability to get another 13 in their capital level. But two, more importantly, if we funded it, I'm not saying we want to, but if we funded it, could it be done any faster? It's still got to go through all the town bodies and everything if we did it. So we're still looking at a date.
Yeah, let me answer that. Yeah,
Please.
you'll pick up 2 months. Okay. For $13 million. I mean,
They could also say no, and it'll come back to us to approve, so, but we
That's true.
thank you for your generosity.
Well,
At least you're,
we are looking at, you know, your rates and, you know, your ability to pay going forward. And in one sense, it's, you know, pockets of, you know, but clearly not having the funds in your account, which this would deplete most of them, right? Would impact your rates, I would assume, going forward.
yes.
Well, there's unquestionably an economic development component to this too. So, I mean, if we're looking at it exclusively as what's best for the wastewater system, completely not factoring in development, this project has a much lower priority than if we're looking at it from a town perspective. I mean, obviously, it's still a huge I&I piece here, which is bad for our system, but it's curtailing future development.
That is why it's completely defensible.
Right, exactly.
There may be, as I said, when you talk about dividing them up in what bucket, you know, at some point it may just be that WPCA the capacity is only, well, capacity issues, but the bonding capacity is only is maxed, and then it has to default to the town, but this particular item is a good fit for a portion of it now anyways. From a timeline perspective, you gotta run it through all the boards, and we're in summer anyways, and we want to do our diligence also when going to the boards for this, no matter whose bucket for the ultimate authority on the appropriation. And it's gonna take some time to put together, just last night we updated the Board of Finance, they would like quite a bit of information as to how we got to these numbers, historical and lay that out, how that fits into the big picture on things. So honestly, taking the rest of this month, part of next month, prepping that, going to the Board of Selectmen, hopefully, this board in August, Board of Selectmen, hopefully in August, and then kicking off to the other two boards in September. In that they'll extend by the 30 days. We're just trying to rush this or do some other method is sort of the prudent step. And I think in that process, everyone get ready to, kick right into gear as soon as the boards do those approvals.
Can I just ask one more question? Now, this has been in the back of my mind, and we've got 4 of the people that I'm just bouncing this idea. Based on this cost, based on looking at all the other work we have to do, including I&I, is there any possibility, any appetite for creating our own construction department? I don't, and I have absolutely no idea about what it would take, what it would cost as an investment, but I would certainly take on the possibility of doing a business plan to least, if there's any appetite for that. I'm looking at $26 million here. And
I feel like you guys were talking behind the scenes. No, okay. I mean, that is something that I've heard from time to time, and I think we should definitely.
I had shared that time with the finance, Board of Finance, Lori.
As opposed to outsourcing everything.
As opposed to bringing outside contractors, because I mean, I still have a bad taste in my mouth about the hardening project where there were 100 change orders. I mean, the 26 million, as John knows, is the 26 million. All the unidentified change orders will probably add another number to that.
So, there's a lot of, there have been a lot of ideas I've heard from various parts of town about, bringing stuff in-house, but this sounds like a pretty big project to flesh out, but I'm always happy to look at the cost benefit of something like that and how realistic it is. And certainly now if we had it, we'd probably be very happy because the contractors are doubling probably what they would normally. So, but I just don't know if it's realistic, so we can have, I'm sure Bucky has dealt with both models.
Some of the other stuff makes
207 miles of I&I.
There's a lot of expertise required to do this, right?
Yeah, the wetlands crossing is not.
But it's not just WPCA. I mean, it's everything, right?
Right.
It's the whole town, all of our projects, Board of Ed,
Something you bid on.
Questions came up at Board of Finance last night just about the escalation. Did we miss something? How the cost was determined? And should we now be looking at other projects and how they were,
Good question.
can we be really looking, can we have trust in our numbers for some of these other projects?
Which ones? Okay,
The pump stations would be the next,
Yeah.
really next big capital we'd be looking for.
numbers will be what the numbers are. We just hope we can get, good bids. But, supply chain issues, cost of materials, just general inflation. Since we started talking about, pump station, inflation's gone up 10%. There was an 8% social security bump 2 years ago and another 3% last year. I mean, that's 10%. 10%. These projects, and we started working on this. This project was in the works.
But it's also
COVID, I think.
so 4 years.
That's one of the issues.
That's what you're facing. Now, the other budgets,
If you do that.
you know, I have a certain level of confidence in them. I think they're far more ordinary. This is a technical nightmare. This requires expertise that very, very few people, companies have. By virtue of the number of bids we got. No one wants to go near this project. It is extremely risky for a lot of reasons.
Were there any companies that you were hoping would bid on it
Yes.
that didn't? Was there any discussion of going out to bid again? I know that kills. I just want to add, just not necessarily advocating for that, but
It's about a 1-minute discussion.
okay.
You know, you always think that way, first thoughts. But when you come right down to it, we had two bids that were very, very close to one another, two capable, competent firms. One from New York State, and one was a collaboration of a local contractor with another local contractor. So they were good bids, they were close. So that's good enough for me.
Did we take?
Are these prevailing rate?
Which one?
So if we don't,
Party participation.
and if we don't take grant money, oh, either way, we have to do that because we're a town. Or if we don't take grant money, do we have to do prevailing rate?
Yes, anything over $100,000. Which this is.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yep.
I know you're joking, Joe, about being generous, but just to make the point that I don't view it that way. I've made that point many, many times, that this is an essential core part of running a town, a WPCA. Thank you for your work. Without a sewer system, we don't have a town. So, I'm just taking a practical view of it as, hopefully moving this forward by the time I'm retired and but really well functioning.
So I think the next key decision for this committee will happen in August on this decision.
I guess so. So it sounds like some legwork needs to happen to just make sure that the current plan is at least theoretically agreed upon, and then we'll vote on it, official, as will the other parties. So
This will be the first stop.
yeah, this will be the first stop next month. Awesome. Okay. Good. If there's any benefit to us doing a specialty meeting to speed it up, would consider that, but if not, then
Thank you. Yeah, we'll look at where the board of, it'd be based on the board of selectmen timing. I'll confirm that. And
Okay.
we'll let you know.
sounds good.
Somebody that's going to be in Berlin from the 8th to.
I mean, I'll still. Hey, as long as we get 4 of us, I mean, you already know, I'm yes. I'd like to make that a 5-minute meeting. All right. Anything else on the East Trunk? All right, I Phase 5.
That is ongoing. There has been a meeting. There is another meeting August 1st. Just in side conversations, or not on the record conversations with Dennis, they're still working. What needs to be done? Right now, it looks like about 3 miles of lining.
Okay.
78 manhole rehabs. Rough guess cost is about 2 million, but they still got more stuff to go through. We'll hash it out more August 1st, and we probably should have a report from them October, November.
Just a report, or are they putting together a design
Yeah,
package?
the package.
Oh, okay.
For what we're gonna be.
Bid package, okay, good.
We'll
Sorry, you
have a
said
bid package by the end of November.
End of November.
Okay,
For bid by early in the year, January, February.
perfect. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Other questions on I Phase 5? Seeing none, moving on. Secondary digester cleaning and repair.
Go ahead, Christine. I stepped on your toes on the last one.
No, it's fine. We didn't discuss it. secondary digester, they're getting ready to mobilize by the first week of August. They'll be setting up the temporary tanks in order to transfer the sludge over to the temporary tank setup so that we can start cleaning out the secondary digester. We anticipate that cleaning should take about a month. And then after that, they can start doing the repairs, which would be September, October. And then the plan is to have the digester back up and running in November. So there's been a bit of a delay in getting them started, only because there's long lead times on some of the things that we have to repair, like the rollers. So we didn't want them to be put into a temporary setup and then have to sit back and wait before we could do the repairs. So we have the rollers coming in August now. So now we're more comfortable getting them set up with the temporary tank setup and everything so that the rollers will be here when we're ready to put them in.
Makes sense.
I would, thank you. Like beforehand, we need a very well-organized, communications plan around any possible smell.
It's gonna be the same exact operation that's happening right now. Instead of going to this big round tank, it's gonna go to these two little square tanks. That's it.
Okay,
They'll be outside pressing like they did the last time. Our odor control people are gonna set something up temporary just in case. Not gonna be an issue.
Don Bodie says.
It's not gonna be an issue.
I'm going to piggyback on that. I think we should communicate something. And I think Christine Brown I think if we just give Christine some bullet points or some communication, because she's well connected, obviously, in this area. But whether there's a smell or not, I think the residents need to know there's an operation going on and sort of the time frame of it.
That was definitely the plan to begin with. We were gonna.
So that's what,
Liz and Christine and everything and send something out before they start.
Yeah, Lisa Claire.
That heads off the argument if you didn't tell us.
yeah, exactly. That's the,
Making sure they understand that the secondary digester is vastly different than the primary digester.
Vastly different.
Because when they hear digester, they're
They-
probably
yeah.
gonna get
never
nervous.
full digester.
It's a holding tank.
Holding
been a
tank,
whole-
exactly. Yep.
We did that. We called it the digester.
Uh,
It should have been just a holding tank.
should have changed it.
Good points.
Well, not
Next.
to be negative, but if there is a smell, who will be the person that resident should contact? So when you get that press together,
Mhm.
just,
There's a mechanism in place with an email set up and everything. So
all right.
From the last time we did it.
All right. Anything else on digesters? One of my favorite topics, the smart covers.
smart covers are in my office as we speak. A gentleman from the company will be coming next week, spending 3 days with us, installing and setting up. So we should have all 15 in next week.
Excellent.
First two will be at Ruane and Thorpe, AKA the Joe DeVanzo Memorial Smart Covers.
Memorial, yes.
Some sewage.
So we will have some numbers and something to report in August
Awesome.
as to what's going on.
Sounds good. Any questions?
Happy, thank you. Thank you, John.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
we might want to get a report from Christine on the pump station as part of the capital program.
The ones that are currently in design. I guess that is an update on current projects. Can we add that even though we didn't add it to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to add an update to the pump stations that are active in design.
Second. All in favor? All right, it shall be. Christine?
Spot.
Well, we don't have active design at the moment. We are doing investigation.
Okay.
We've started the surveying and the structural inspection and the surveying of the priority phase 1, which is Fairfield Beach, Center Street, and Pine Creek. We're anticipating that investigation should have a basis of design report by, I think it was October. And then based on that, we could decide if we're going to go forward with doing the design for Fairfield Beach, was the priority 1 station that we were identifying. So by October, would have the better cost estimate or estimate probable cost of construction cost from them so that we could go forward, decide if we're going to go forward with the design of that station. The other 4 stations, which were the phase 2 lower priority ones like Mill River, Toll House, Eastfield and Willow Street. That investigation is primarily complete. I have the report now that we're reviewing. That phase, we're not progressing to a design at this point. We're just reviewing whether the, force mains need to be increased in size, which at this point they don't. Everything looks to be like when we're ready to go forward with in rehabilitating or replacing any of that structures, we'll have our plan in place.
Sounds good. Chris?
Question for you is, I think what on the Fairfield Beach Road pump station, I think there's concerns from some of the residents since we're raising it up about the look of the structure. Is that something that we're looking into currently, or is that a part of
Yes.
the design?
Well, we're not designing it yet. We're just doing the investigation of what we need to do and to discuss the design approach. And we'll be discussing with, planning and zoning of what's required to do over there. But we are aware, and the consultant is aware, that the aesthetics is an important aspect of the design.
And who's gonna be spearheading the look or the aesthetics of this with everyone?
Well, they would have to do some kind of presentation when we're in the design phase. We'll have to do some kind of presentation, I assume, to the community board or somebody to,
That's not
Yes, have approval.
that's not a basis of design component though.
Okay, I just want to make sure at least we
early.
have it in there somewhere for the looks.
It's not related to the first three, but a couple of meetings ago, there was some concern on Mill Hill,
The force main,
force main at Mill Hill.
we're still looking into that.
We should move that up into
We're still doing investigative work.
We're
on
doing
that.
investigation.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that the section with the side-by-side pipe that was?
Yeah, yes, sir.
categorized?
Is, are force mains part of that October report deadline, or is that purely just the pump stations?
No, it's force mains on the pump stations.
Great. Anything else? All right, thank you, Christine. Item 4, new business, discuss Durrell Pump Station. Who's taking this one?
I can take that. Have a organization in town, Operation Hope. I'm sure most of you know what they do. We're the organization that takes care of the food pantry and many of the social issues that are that they attend to that are required by our town. In 1994, I'll give you a little bit of history of this. The town collaborated with a developer who's built some houses on Durrell Drive. It's contiguous to the highway on one side and Paper Mill Lane and Upwell Road. Right there, there's a little V. The town gave the developer the property for $1. The town connected all of the utilities, built the driveways, backfilled the foundations. They were a true partner with this developer in order to accomplish, I think, 5 dwellings. And we have the agreement and all of the obligations of the developer. At some point, and I haven't been able to find this out, but I will. The developer either acted in or left the project, and Operation Hope was asked to and did begin to manage it. All of these 5 dwellings connect to a pump station. And the pump station pumps up Paper Mill Lane about 700 feet into a manhole where that pump is, and units go down by grab. Over the years, though, not even over the years, in 1996, developers on Paper Mill Lane asked to connect to this force main. They connected to a pipe, an 8-inch pipe that went down into this pump station, which have the grinder pumps in and pump up. It appears that there were sewer connection payments made to WPCA to the tune of $40,000. So there are 6 homes that were private, in addition to the 5 dwellings that were part of the original development. Over that time, since 1994, 30 years, WPCA has been collecting user fees from these people, at least the 5 houses, and then the next 6 houses. So there's 11 dwellings there that are paying user fee to the town and paid a connection fee to the town. And lo and behold, as you would expect, Operation Hope never, ever contemplated the need to address the maintenance of a pump station. They probably didn't even know what it was. And now they're asking us to take pump station maintenance over. So I'm here to present you with this decision. I don't think it is mature enough at this point to make an absolute decision, because I have to talk to the town attorney, and at the very least, I have to find out if they're willing to grant us an easement at that location. There probably wants to be some immediate investment in the pump station. Don't know how much would be the minimum, but over time, it would take some investment to keep it running. But in the meantime, WPCA pays nothing, gets the user fees, gets the connection fees. And I think it's in the spirit of cooperation, collaboration with a worthy organization like this. I think it's worthwhile to look at this and approve this. So what I will do is I will have the town attorney talk to Operation Hope, get an easement, get a site plan. Maybe John and I can just have a discussion about what the absolute minimum required might be. And we can report back to you, but I just wanted to brief you on that and let you know that it's coming.
Question of over 30 years, has Operation Hope actually been maintaining that pump equipment?
Somebody has. Operation Hope, and as I said before, I don't know exactly when the transition occurred from the original developer to Operation Hope. But since Operation Hope has had it, they've been responsible for, and they have maintained it.
They have an outside contractor, Fellner, do the work there. I know just in the past, before Operation Hope took over it, whoever was the developer that was managing the place was very, very lax, and we bailed them out a few times, just to keep the people from having backups, and we took care of it, asked for reimbursement. Whether we got it, I don't know, but it's just, so.
Yes.
So we do know it. We've had somebody look at it, so we can give a relatively decent assessment of what we need to put in as a basis, and then.
That's the one on the kind of right on the corner there.
Yep.
Okay, well, there, it's kind of at the end of the street.
Turnpike.
Yeah, it's right.
5
You always
houses.
see that.
Yep.
There. Is Durrell Drive a public road?
As far as I know.
No, I think it's private.
I don't think it conforms to the
That's why we need the easement.
emergency safety.
Why we need the easement.
And we, in that line in the road would be ours then, too, I would suspect.
Well, that's a good question, because the neighbor's line in the road that the Haverhill Lane folks connect to, that flows down to the pump station. Now,
700-foot line.
my guess is that this developer didn't pay for that. If those houses wanted to connect, they had to pay, the developer of those homes had to pay for that and connect into that pump station. And then they pump out right next to it, a 2-inch line that goes up to the manhole up on top of the hill. So
That goes out the top, kind of the top up by the school and then gravity from there. But where does paper mill
For 5 houses, not for.
on sewer? Where does paper mill go?
hey, this manhole right here,
Paper Mill is Round Hill to Umpqua,
Round Hill to
I
Umpqua?
think, right along the turnpike, parallel to the turnpike.
is where the transition occurs. Oh, okay. You had a topographic map.
Right here. Then at the high point, then it flows that way.
Yeah,
Oh, so that's where it pumps into?
here,
Here?
no, yeah,
I'm assuming no engineering evaluation was done
yes.
on the pump station when the 6 houses,
I doubt it.
so it's probably undersized for 11.
Well. We could calculate what the annual usage for 11 homes is and figure out what we would need for.
So they did an evaluation in 20.
What's that?
We did an evaluation for Operation Hope back in 2022.
Right here.
Yeah. So they kind of went through it and said, this is this is that.
As if it was one of our.
Right.
New pump stations.
Right.
And came up with a $300,000.
Which was,
We're asking for things there that you don't even put in your new pump.
right. Right. So, I mean, that was a,
You don't have wireless SCADA systems. And they're asking for it. So, I mean, it was just like.
Finish your questions.
To me, it looked like something that was looking.
Are we starting precedence?
Does not make it. How many are there in town?
what, little places like this is the only one.
This is it?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing would be somebody has a house and has a little ejector pump in their basement, which is something that they're not gonna take over.
That's it. And this is all Operation Hope except for the houses on the bottom of Paper Hill.
Yep, correct.
Is Carla still the director? Yeah. So somewhere in her budget, there's been a line item to maintain this.
But we've been helping.
Asked one of my questions anyway. Are we setting a precedent here? But John, you said that, that we're collecting fees from them. But they are sending their product to the plant. We are processing. I just wanted to make sure. So we are collecting, but it's collecting for processing at the plant. Yeah, infrastructure, correct. Yes, my second question. And then is there a benefit to, I assume the people on Paper Mill could connect to the pipe in the street without going through that pump? No. Not enough elevation?
That's why they had to connect in the first place.
The bottom, the downhill
So
side,
if you go up,
6.
But they can use the pump. They
They
can
already did. They already did. The people on Paper Mill are
go
all
to this pump
correct,
rather than coming out to the,
right here. Right here.
Just the four.
There's these 4 right here.
Yes. There's 6.
This manhole is up here, so these 6 go down, then it gets pumped up on Paper. Right.
but there's a pipe in the road on Paper Mill. This pump station goes and pumps into the pipe on Paper Mill and it comes back out on Round Hill or something.
There's a pipe in the road.
Right.
These houses are connected. It's a conventional.
It's a gravity
trunk
pipe.
line.
Gravity pipe.
It's a gravity pipe that goes into the pump station. The pump station pumps it out 700 feet up
Up is the kid.
Paper Mill where it enters the town system.
Thank you. That's what I was asking.
And who owns the pipe in the road? The 8-inch pipe in the road that they're connected on? I'm assuming we
Still to be
do.
determined, Craig. This was a
Like it's on the
work
Paper Mill.
over
The pipe is.
Yeah.
many years, I guess.
And I would assume since it's a public road, we probably own it. So I hate to, yeah. Okay.
I am sure that whoever, the developer of Durrell Place, he did not pay for that line. You can bet on that. There's no benefit to him.
Probably the homes did it,
Whoever,
connected to that,
those developers.
got approved to the town. Yeah, they just do stuff and don't tell anyone. Oops, we forgot to tell you. Whatever you guys decided.
So, well, there's nothing to vote on today, but there's, exactly.
It's for you again, when this is more robust, and we have a little more information or whatever we.
It would be interesting to hear what the insurance said.
Very only got to get an easy.
You guys,
Especially I can ask them. Who will ask.
I don't care about profit.
And Operation Hope would be the grantor of the easement.
I believe they're the.
Say,
fee simple.
we want it now. That's my concern.
That has to be done.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this will probably be a September decision.
Any other questions? All right. Discuss and propose new sewer usage rates for fiscal year 2026. Joe, do you want to take this one?
Make a motion to discuss and propose the new sewer usage rates for 2026. Put it on the table for discussion.
Second? Second by Chris, all in favor? Unanimous? All right.
So I got did everybody review what I sent out in the backup presentation?
Yes.
Back down.
Where everybody standing to.
Right now, our rate is $5.25 per 100 CCF. Okay, and we generate about $7.6 million, $7.7 million roughly. Here's budget. And we've been raising the rate over the years to build our fund. Right now, the fund is about 18 million with about 2 million encumbered, but build our fund as well as cover the expenses of the department, the WPCF. Okay, so I ran 3 different scenarios. Scenario number 1 shows no rate increase, keeping the rate at 5.25, and shows that we would cover both the projected expenses for next year, this fiscal year, next fiscal year, because we send our bills out in prior to October 1, and we collect between that October 1 and November 1. And it goes into the fund, and then it's used by the department. So what I did was I raised the department expenses 3% for inflation, and I ran 3 scenarios, setting it at $5.25, which is a 0% increase, and then 2 others at 1.42%, which is what the town's budget was, overall budget increase. And then I set it at a 3% rate increase, which is basically the US inflation rate. So those are the 3 scenarios you see. But then behind that, I did some additional scenarios at 4%, 5%, et cetera, just for illustrative purposes. All numbers work, starting with the 525. The 525 generates about $1.1 million to the fund. The next one, the 535 generates about $1.2 million, and then the 540 generates about $1.3 million. So you can see how it progressively moves. So that is really the way we've done it. And you may be asking me why 525, 530, 535, 540, 545. I was told years and years ago, I don't know how true it is, but we've always, in the last 4 or 5 years, always ended our rate with a 5 or a 0 on it. I don't know the rationale for that. I've asked the question. Nobody seems to know whether we need to do it. Doesn't matter. Our vendor needs to have this information by the end of August to get it into their system, to get the bills processed. So we're bringing it up at this meeting so we could propose it. What happens is we propose a rate, and then it goes into the newspaper, a comment, and at our next meeting, our August meeting, we vote on what we want to actually do, is my understanding. We cement it, basically. Okay, so,
But that number has to go in the paper before our meeting.
correct, that number has to be
So
in
we
the
have to
paper.
agree on it.
We have to propose a rate.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if we don't raise any rates, we don't have to do anything.
Sure, yeah.
That's, but I'm not I'm not proposing that. Okay, we still have about, our volume usage, just so everybody knows, is about 14 million gallons. What can I tell you? We've got about just under 15,000 residential customers. I think we've got about 270 commercial customers. I mean, just to give you some statistics on it, it means nothing. If we go with any of those rates, we've got the department expenses covered plus 3% and about $1 million for the fund, which is basically what we've been doing over the last few years.
And so we have 16 million unencumbered in the fund.
Right, yeah. At the last time I talked, which was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I asked Caitlin and she said we had about a little over 18 million and about 2 million was encumbered.
Chris?
These rates are consistent all the way through residential, commercial, or not.
Yes, we did not do anything to break out, which we talked about, but we never get to it.
Understood.
Making our commercial rates different than our residential rates.
We have a lot of projects in our waterfall. We haven't done any kind of analysis in terms of how we're actually funding those between the.
We did a 10-year capital plan 2 years ago. But everything has changed with that plan now. The town has certainly taken in now, I think they've approved for 4.5 million for I&I. That's going to be capitalized maybe now. They've approved the other 18 million for the plant
Right.
that we have not parsed that out and said if we'll cover it or not. This will cover it for the next 5 years, no question about that.
Yeah.
These rates would have covered us for 5 years. We're going to run into trouble is in 2030, the $98 million
Right,
plant
yeah.
expense, which seems to have been reduced potentially to 18 million plus another probably 16 or so. Rough. And I'm throwing numbers out. We just saw our things doubled, 13
Yeah,
to
exactly.
26. So I don't know.
Exactly.
But that would argue we should increase the rates. I
I
mean, that would be the argument to increase the rate slightly.
And I think kind of what I remember back is that we're increasing the rates just to keep track of everything like you're saying, so that at least we can fund our projects. But now it seems like a portion of our projects are being helped out by the town. So we're not fully funding everything. So some of the projects that we had are being helped out with the I&I. And I know in some of these other items that the town has been picking up, well, like the 13 million now that.
13 million, but that wasn't in our number.
That wasn't-
That's an additional number. So
So, but I'm just kind of saying, well, the town's helping out on some of these numbers. Do we have to increase as much?
The town is helping out on one of these numbers. That's it.
Okay.
and no, that,
And it's not-
they're helping,
it's only in
wasn't in our numbers anyway.
No precedent setting saying they're gonna continuing. It just all depends on how it plays out.
Right.
I don't know if this is legal, but, what? No, that's right, that's right, of course, I forgot. Since you're here, I forgot I was next to the show. But
You just can't vote.
right, so I did, want to ask, do you look at, the rates, in setting this of the other towns? Because the tie and bond, survey, you got that, right? It looked like we were kind of in the middle,
Just below middle.
below middle.
I mean, when you get to a Bridgeport or anything, they're around $8, $7.90 something last I looked, but we're not the highest and not the lowest. So let's just say we're in the middle.
But I also want to avoid a situation where if we go too low, then all of a sudden we have a spike year. I don't like spike years, so.
Right, that's sort of what I was thinking, is if we're not, because you have the,
Yeah, exactly.
you would want to build up your fund.
The argument is build up the fund. The argument is you're putting it on the current people for the future, but basically the way it works.
So just your budget, on the revenue side forecasted an $8.6 million number, and there is a $500,000 additional cost just in, the additional headcount year over year, largely driven by the additional headcount. So keep in mind, thing that is, very close to on par of last year doesn't actually account for the fact that this particular year, independent of, really largely the bonding piece, there was a significant spike in year. That number should not continue in the future. In theory, there may be some personnel adjustments, but this was sort of the catch up on that, and that accounted for half of the difference from 7.5 to 8.6.
Do you have a question
Hello,
or comment?
Yeah, I do. It means saying like I don't listen, but I do listen. One of the areas that we ought to think about too is the CCF, because is the water usage, in other words, is the volume of water coming from aquarium going to go up or down? And there's talk about, as you build, as you develop, there's less water usage as far as watering lawns and things like that. Do we have any kind of statistics on where we think it's going to be and versus where it is?
Yeah, Ron, the volume on the
Yeah.
usage for the proposed numbers that I used was developed by December through April times 2.4. So it's the
Right.
actual volume number I'm using on the usage side. Because we've passed last December through last April. That's the number we use for
Right.
volume times 2.4. So that's an accurate number I'm using at the 14,000,007
Okay.
that you see on the top of the, in the assumptions.
Yeah.
Okay, and
I
that's,
tend to go along.
and that's very consistent with last year's number, actually. I've always been concerned with water usage going down as you see air flush toilets and these gallon toilets versus what we used to use in our day, where you used to flush about 4 or 5 gallons at a time,
Right.
but we haven't seen that yet, but that's coming in the future, I'm sure.
But we're adding a couple hundred apart units every year and it's staying consistent.
That's why I'm
Which I think
saying,
is a good thing.
good thing.
But it will, if they stop, once we get max, it's gonna go down.
Yes, but it's not happening yet, but that's something you guys have to
Right.
watch
Right.
forward.
So thoughts on an increase? Anybody?
I picked the middle one.
I'm sorry.
What, Ron?
I picked the middle one. The second one in was 35,
0.42, which is what the
35.
town
Town
budget
is.
was.
Oh, I like the inflation number as the starting point.
Yeah. Hard to argue,
Who's on sewers in the town? Oh, not on sewers.
hard to argue that 3% is
Fine, we could do one this year. I don't want to.
high when everyone understands inflation.
I mean, I tried to use realistic numbers. That's why I used no increase, 1.42, which is the town, 3%, which is the federal government. And then I have other numbers, want to go higher. I mean, I've given
I appreciate the work.
so.
Obviously, theoretically, there's more work to be done in terms of figuring out how far our current fund gets us on the large amount of capital projects that we have coming up over the next 10
As
years.
soon as we figure out,
And so,
you gotta time phase those.
I know.
And then I could do it.
Exactly.
You give me those time phased and I'll tell you exactly when.
Yeah.
That fund runs out.
I would like the 3% to keep up with inflation.
I agree with that.
On sewers.
Scenario 3.
What was it? Excuse me. Is it 3%, John? Joe, is it 3% or 2.86%?
It's 2.8.
0.86 rounded.
because of the,
So if I have to get to 0 or 5 at the end. Yes.
$5.40 then.
right.
540.
540.
Scenario
Here's the,
Back at the reason why your work list at the plant is so long and all of a sudden you have this pile of expenses. you figure where the money's gonna come from, it's because we probably did not charge enough over the years building up to it.
I can tell you in 2017, that's why I was put on this commission. To specifically raise some rates to get us on a plane that would work.
I mean, politically, 1.4 is easier to swallow maybe, or easier to pitch. But 3% should not be
I mean,
that much harder.
Yeah, I think we're a little, I'm a little confused.
Well, obviously, I mean, lower better anytime you can. The concern that I've got is this creates a void from a budget perspective. You had anticipated 8.6. I could see there might be an argument why that was a little bit
This would
high when you settle it in, but
this will generate 9.6.
no.
No, it's
Specifically, no, you're looking, that's
for
that's
overall.
It's overall, but
Correct.
specific to this, to the sewer user fee portion, it generates 3% is 7.9.
Right.
In the budget book, you anticipated 8.6 million. And that 8.6 million, only anticipated, which would be fine, it'll be a partial year for some of these bonding amounts. So you'll be fine there, but it
But I-
will create a shortfall.
When I do it, I look at the overall revenue where we raised I almost 25%. If you look at the I revenue, we're going from 750 to $1 million because we raised the rates I last month. With all the building that's going on. So we're gonna well make it up. That's why I look overall. I don't just
So
look
the
at.
budget overall, you're supposed to, in theory, you're supposed to net out for the year. So your budget overall on the expense side for the upcoming year came in at 10.484 million. And your revenue then came in at 10.484 to match that. It used a current sewer user fee of 8.6. So if you factor in the I, which was budgeted at 750, so move that up by 250,000, right?
Right.
You're anticipating $1 million now. So you would still need your current sewer user fees to come in at, that would be 8.35 million. So you're still off by 350,000. So if you anticipate revenue somewhere else, or you anticipate a reason why you can have a shortfall in the revenue, then that is fine, but you're not matching your budget at that point. Because your raise per the budget should be 10.484 million.
To get back to the 8.6.
That match it, exactly, because, or
The eight-
now,
but the
now
8.6
5.
But the 8.6 has to be adjusted because of the other things that are in there, like the 750 for I has to come out. Because you've got it doubled up in there with both capital and.
No,
Yeah.
no, the capital piece for the I, the capital piece for the first,
Yeah, it's in the budget.
yes, but the capital piece was supposed to be accelerating programs, 4.5 million. $1.5 million buckets over the next 3 years. Now, if you're not anticipating, that would be a different discussion. If you're raising for I and you're not anticipating spending I, let me just go back, you have a $750,000 I within the budget. Now, if you're gonna take that out for the upcoming.
I did.
And
I did going
on the expense side, you're assuming that we're only.
The I will be 1.5 million capitalized, and the expense of that capitalization is in the budget.
Okay, so
that's
that would be different if you're not going,
not, I don't think we are.
well, with the amount of I, there was, I think oftentimes, and I know we've referred to it as like a, like kind of.
Black hole.
Like paving, and where it's like this boosting of things. There was an additional amount, there was a budget amount, and then this was, because there was so much I work that needed to be done, they went out to bond. You're not anticipating, at least in this year, doing any.
Right.
Through the budget, and you're gonna raise for it, then sure, that's another story. So I just wanna make sure everybody is totally in agreement that then the budget balances technically with a surplus in that scenario. But that means you're stuck to your capital.
You're gonna do 1,500,000 in I this between July 1 and June 30th. July 1 that just left us, July 1, 2024, and June 30th, 2025.
We're not gonna have a bid package till October.
So you're not gonna do 2,000,002 in I at all.
Not this year.
1.5 and the 750 is
Maybe your budget
right.
overlaps further, but
Right.
sure. No, you're limited on your.
5.
Well, that could be a problem.
The capitalization.
If we already have
This was I thought the bond opinion was an Excel.
essentially budgeted for, in the repairs that Wright Pierce is currently working design through for that bid package that's coming in October.
Yeah, but you've got to finish it by June 30th.
Okay,
That's the key.
they probably won't do that.
No.
But if they could, I wouldn't want to limit them.
No. But then we'll,
Yeah. Okay, reserves.
Okay. So yeah, as long as,
And then just know that if you take out of your capital, you're reducing the amount of money that can be used for any future offsets. So we start to do the bonding, and I plan to, I believe, at the next meeting, we're gonna schedule and explain the thought process on that. It's similar to some of the things we're starting to do on the town side budget. But if you draw down that fund over a period of time, you can, for instance, if you were going to, because of bonding costs, have to raise the budget, the rates by, say, 6%, you could draw, these are arbitrary numbers, you could take $750,000 out of that fund and now raise it by 4% that year, right? So you could slowly step it up if you have a fund. If you deplete the fund, you don't have that safety net and you're still faced with, so you might have reduced the bonding over a year, but proportionally, when you lay it out on a schedule, helps you phase these in over time, which obviously everyone's trying to do. So, I do agree that this first year, at least, it's gonna take a lot to do that much I&I, so it's fair.
Question for you is that I just heard that we had budget. We have a budgeted expenses are estimated at 9.6 per,
Nine. Yes.
and then I just heard 10.4.
Well, the budget was
This year.
approved at 10
This year, this is the following year.
and 10.
So we have a
So-
increase in budget because of I.
And I 750 and
Okay. But you're taking you're assuming the I&A out, so if you back that out, you're in the 9.6 range, so that's.
correct. That's
When
when
you can meet those. Okay, as long as everyone's.
Yes.
it's not going to get done. It's not.
It's
That's the,
And who's gonna be, because Joe, you're putting all these budgets together, correct? All these, this is all
well, we're
budgets.
John, when we get to November, September, October, November.
November, yeah,
Right. And this could be a blueprint for that.
okay, so then at least we have a document going forward,
That will present to David, absolutely.
so we all.
And we'll review it here like we always do. and
that'd be nice.
What?
Why, that's standard.
No,
Every year we do it.
I just want to make sure at least when you're not here, everyone's not here, at least we know how we're doing all these things, Joe, because I'm lost.
Me too.
We'll have to sit down then, guys. We need to
Yes.
sit down.
That's right, I just,
We can get you when we sit down and do
I'm
it.
just, no, I'm just saying that this is not, and I'm just saying is that in the future, I think as a board member, I would be more comfortable on going, without you here, I trust where you're going with this, but with someone else, you or whoever, how are we gonna keep it going? And this
think
is where
generally-
how are we gonna keep this going?
We
Like we are.
generally can present you the
Thank you.
schedules.
That would be,
This is largely driven out of the book. I think I had
okay,
seen a copy that John had handed me earlier in the week and I couldn't quite figure it out, but you've explained that the gap there is the I&I piece. You see where I'm going, trying to match up against, most of the lines match right up against the budget book. That's the piece. But as long as the commission and everyone's on the same page about how much within that time period you're even gonna spend, then yes, you won't find yourself in a deficit as if you're not spending that.
Okay.
So does the 3% work then? With the reduced I&I spend for next year, I guess then, so, okay.
The 3% is, yes, we'll
It
overwork.
covers, right.
We'll overwork.
Well,
We'll
that's-
put some money into it.
Yes.
Which is, yeah, that's what
We're
I.
gonna put it into our fund.
Some of that will depend on the timing of these trials. You start up a
Yeah, exactly.
chunk, right now, you're not necessarily getting charged out for some of those. We bonded for it, we're paying for it, but we're currently earning interest on it. It's netting itself out. Once you start to draw that down, you won't net the interest or get some of the expense side. But again, you know, it's timing in the second half of that. So my guess would be if that actually kicks up in that gear, you might see some of that evaporate and sort of just net out.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number because it's hypothetical timing.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So that was the first part of the rate increase. We also have a minimal number we charge under 50 CCFs.
Oh, wait.
This year we've charged $162.50. Those are the people that
Don't mean that.
do not over 50 CCF. And last year, I remember one of our commissioners wanted to also raise that in proportion. So if we raise by 3%, we're going to want to raise that $162 by 3%. 167.50. Rounded.
Seems reasonable to me.
So I'd like that in one motion if we could.
I like it. What is it? But I'm only one. What does everybody else think?
They should be across the board consistent done, so
Yeah.
3% of both.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So, Chair, I'd like to propose
Mhm.
a motion to raise the rates for the next fiscal year by 3% to $5.40 per CCF. And in addition, raise the minimum to $167.50.
Second?
I'll second it.
Done.
Are we voting on this? But isn't that voting on it
We're
right
voting
now?
for
But proposal.
Voting for the proposal.
We're not voting for the rate.
To get published in the
Yeah,
paper
we gotta-
and then we actually vote.
Missed the proposed. All right.
Yeah, I said proposed.
Proposed.
Yeah, you did.
Did.
All right.
'Cause I missed. I thought we were voting. All in favor for the proposal? Unanimous. All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, so that needs to go in the paper and then we'll actually vote on those exact same numbers next month. 4C, discuss and propose new fog rates.
Yeah, sure. We're working aggressively. Our fog permits right now, the way it stands is $100 a year. And then we charge a late fee after July. So we're collecting a lot of revenue aggressively within the last month. So we send out like a heads up notice that we're gonna be sending out the bills for your fog. For restaurants and all, the schools are exempt, of course, and so we're working aggressively to get the revenue up to date with that. However, there's 400 restaurants in town.
There's 2, 3, and 4 facilities.
Facilities, I should say, right. Yeah, they're not all restaurants, some of them.
They generate grease.
Yeah, they generate grease, and we're working actively sending out letters to comply with not just the town of Trumbull, but the town of Fairfield, but also for the state DEP and everything. So we don't get into any kind of jam with the state of Connecticut and DEP and everything. So fog program, because of the leniency of COVID and everything, the rates haven't been increased.
Right. I believe the last time we increased was 2019.
Maybe before that, Joe.
I was on the commissions. I remember doing it. So whatever,
2019.
5 years at least 5 years.
So it's probably due because the development and the establishments are starting to grow. So it's been quite a while since the rates have been increased.
Chris?
Right now, what, so you're saying there's around 400 and something potential.
You
Right
could,
now, we're only collecting on 125
well,
at $125 fees.
100.
on the renewal.
$25 is the late fee.
The fees are, let me, correct me if I'm wrong. The initial fee is 125, and then there's an annual fee of 100.
An annual fee of 100.
Right. Okay, so if you're a new restaurant, a new cooking facility, a new class 2, 3, or 4 facility in town, they get an invoice for 125 initially. And then every year annually, when John's talking about the 400 that go out, the 400 invoices that go out, that's $100 annually. And then when he talks about only 120 of them respond and return $100 to us, you can see the compliance is about 25%.
Why are we gonna increase the rates on the people that are actually doing something responsible and actually paying us? Why don't we go after the people that we should pay?
So my question, I guess, is what are the expenses that go into this thing? I mean, obviously, there's the administrative piece that seems to be somewhat, it's lacking in the sense that we haven't actually done the stick on the ones that aren't, and yet we're not collecting. But is there an inspection program that's supposed to follow
You know
that?
what? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Matt. There is no inspection program
Oh.
in place now due to, staffing and personnel. And there hasn't been since before I got here, so.
So I mean, this program needs to cover the expenses of enforcement. It's not supposed to be a revenue generator, but it should be.
To the facilities and it's kind of hard to ask for money when people say, you're not even coming out here.
Right, exactly.
Inspecting and doing, you're just asking us for money every single year. Can you fine us? And it's just myself but that is one way to.
So it's supposed to be one inspection per year. So for 400, it's at least an hour, that's 400 man hours plus probably, I don't know, at least another 30 minutes maybe per establishment for the administrative side of following up with whether or not they actually have a permit. So,
Administrative effort here. I can tell you, we have.
yeah, I'm sure I'm lowballing it. So.
It's been half of their week doing it. You have arrearages on these establishments, over $22,000 in arrears. Some people haven't paid in a couple of years. Now, there's no penalty. But if you go out once a year and check that, and let's say we formally go out once a year and look at 400 plus locations, and they have to have a tag on their unit.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't, if it hasn't been serviced, what is the protocol? You get a letter, it hasn't been serviced, get it serviced. You don't wait another year to go out and see if they
Right.
serviced it. So there's a whole backup procedure that has to be done. The question there is, what is the penalty for not doing that?
So
There's no.
sounds like penalties need to be considerably higher to fund the
We do have,
high
we
administrative.
do have penalties, we just don't enforce.
Right, so that's a
If you-
problem.
If you look at all the penalties on the
It's
ordinance,
the only one with teeth, which I mean, I know that that's a big one, but. Chris,
And is this, John, like when you're going out, or is this is more just for the grease traps and interceptors? that
It's
you're
for
looking
the grease traps and interceptors. When the program starts, hopefully it'll start soon. And it would be for what our primary goal is to keep it out of the wastewater.
Correct.
exactly.
Treatment. It'll do a lot less damage, for the treatment plant. And in the long term, it's gonna be cost effective. Yeah,
Why do we have to go out and inspect? Why can't we just ask them to send send because they pump it. So why they should be pumping it at least minimum 2 times a year, I would think.
Because you're trusting them that.
But no, why don't they send us their invoices?
Well, we have an invoice of the haulers and everything.
Well, why don't they send it to us?
Now it's.
That might be more, that might be more.
Gathering and
Wouldn't
putting
it,
it to.
I'm just saying, if we're not doing it now, or we're not even collecting how much it is to cover our costs, why are we doing it?
What happens if they don't send it?
But we're not even doing it right now.
What happens if they don't send it?
That's exactly what we're up against right now.
We're not even doing anything right now.
That's exactly what we're up against right now. We want to
Keep
move
it up.
forward with it. And that's what,
But I don't even think we're doing anything. And now we got grease going into the system, which is a huge problem. But I don't know how we want to approach it. Either we're going to approach it and have teeth on it and say, hey, guys, we're going to have to start charging you real numbers and have teeth on it, or we're just going to keep going the way we are. It's
want
not,
to keep going the way you are.
it's worthless. Then we should take it out. We should not do anything. But I have a big problem. I think we have a big problem with that, because now you got grease going in down your lines, and that's a bigger issue.
We'll address the problem by hiring another inspector. So now we're gonna have 2 people. Now we're gonna get out there and we're gonna get after it. So we have to have an ordinance or a rule or a regulation to say, it's this, and the penalty is this, and this.
Yeah.
If it's not there, and if it's not enforceable, then
But we gotta be out there, and when we're out there, we're gonna inspect it once a year. They should be pumping it 3 times a year. Where are your bills?
pumping it is not part of the thing. You've got to go there and see, are you servicing the thing? And then if you come back the next year and you say, who took your grease? I don't know. Well, you're not getting rid of it. And that's another thing.
Now, that's exactly what we're getting now.
So you got to draw the line in the sand, and you got to start, and you got to get people out there. You got to have something behind it that we need to regulate and say, this is what you're going to do. If you don't do it, then this is the steps.
I don't think we should be
By the state.
increasing or looking at the rates until we figure out what we want to do first. That's where I am.
Are there third-party contractors that do this for other towns in Connecticut?
All the towns I've been at.
In-house.
That'll be rough.
Same problems we do?
Same business.
Yes. Sorry. Could we pick another town?
15%
Pick another town.
Or what's the-
Money's already accounted.
Understood, but I mean, in
The
terms of a net
reason I'm suggesting is because we do some work.
5
We
seconds.
do send out invoices, we do have
Coming up with something.
on, and we've hired an inspector.
But unless we have some teeth on it, I don't think we should be increasing anything.
So you're aware of the ordinance? Have you seen the ordinance?
I can see the ordinance, but I don't think we're even following the ordinance.
We're going to start following. the
We need to-
ordinance, Put some teeth behind it. We're not just giving.
There are fines in the rules and regulations. I'm gonna get away from ordinance. I don't like that.
okay.
Because it's gotta go to RTM.
Yeah, yes.
Town ordinance. We had that discussion. Those are rules and regulations. And look at the fee schedule in there.
How is this different than railroad parking? We collect money, we enforce it. It's all done with a third party now, then, right? But the model of collecting for railroad parking is identical to what we would like to have for that.
Fully funds. That's what-
You know,
I don't think this.
Everybody's compliant. And we've got signs.
I don't think we should do anything. We actually enforce what we're- I don't think we should do anything until we start enforcing what we're doing.
So if that's a full-time inspector's salary for a year, and we have 400 establishments, $170 fully covers them on an application.
Okay.
And then anybody who's not compliant,
Just learned about,
there's penalties.
so, but
Initial application.
every day is a new, I just.
If you park at the train station, you're gonna get a bill, or you're also gonna get a bigger bill.
Why do we have 120?
You know, we do
70,
restaurant inspector,
25.
so
Thinking if that was 100.
If
Does that
that
mean
was
it's
100,
every
you want to
year?
raise that 75%.
restaurant inspection.
Well, that was 100. That was 100. So
And just the letter,
That's-
letter
yeah, but-
campaign alone is half-time of a secretary.
75 or something.
I was only there anyway. But
I just, I mean, that way we've fully
It's their,
inspected. One's full-time job.
It's gonna go and check the grease
Yeah,
trap.
we're-
And then actually any.
Check everything else, they check the refrigerator.
As long as it'll be all 400 class something facilities.
Yeah, it's someone who's there anyway.
I don't know.
I get,
Everything around.
Person handle.
Components.
it would need to.
Would have to offset. They don't have to.
We got another inspector. You absolutely.
Can I just, I'll just, if
Person.
we're,
We hadn't been
the
inspected.
rate increase,
Yeah,
absolutely, because it hasn't been increased. So I totally agree with that. So Chris, to answer your question is we're trying to take a gap that hasn't been filled in a while. And we're trying to fulfill that. Okay, and in the long term, it's gonna hopefully, because the state DEP and everything, it's required that these restaurants have a grease separation. So we're trying to regroup and everything.
Trying to enforce the.
Right.
Yeah, and try to
That covers that.
Guy here, who's trying to do it all, and
It's not working. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. But I'm just,
be a collaboration on the town side. to
And they're
accomplish.
required to have this. So I mean, if you need somebody to, to put teeth into it, then okay, here we are to discuss it. So we're working on that and then
Inspector showing.
perhaps we could do that.
When
If we
someone-
have teeth to bite into it.
Well, that
sounds like John's getting
other than
hired,
finding,
having a hire to get.
having no ability to do it is the.
I don't think we should adjust the rates until we can figure out,
That's my favorite.
just do the first year, then we can adjust them next year.
So the only reason I,
Do anything until we can find out.
the reason I disagree
Teeth on it.
is because I think that the fees should cover full-time inspector's salary. Should I ballpark
And
it?
if you do the math, it's $170.
What did I say?
68,000 for the inspector divided by 400 clients.
Yeah.
So that's 170.
And that means you're gonna collect from all 400.
Exactly.
That's the assumption. That's the assumption.
Well, but any,
What we're doing now, we're only collecting about 13,000 right now.
We're collecting 15%.
And then
Put it out there, make a motion.
so, think,
Okay, you want to go to 170 there or there?
how about 200, 150?
Okay.
That mostly covers the inspector.
Okay, I'd like to propose we change the FOG rule and regulation. Not going to get an ordinance, rules and regulations. The initial application be increased from $150 to $200. And the renewal application sent out annually be increased from $100 to $150.
Second.
This makes no sense, the late fee per month.
So I got it.
I'd like to eliminate the late fee, but
No, I want to keep it late. I mean, I don't know how.
So you got a second on that.
All in favor?
don't want to discuss it, okay?
Yeah.
Is there a way to
Do we need to discuss?
this to
Yeah, I think everyone knows what the position.
the requirement? each year?
You guess. That's what it is. I'm already past this one.
So it's gonna be 100.
Wait, so did we actually do full vote?
No, for that, there's $100.
And Joe, refer to that in the,
It's not mentioned in ordinance. Do we need an ordinance to charge a penalty, like if we're gonna have a penalty?
we're going to change it from ordinance to rule and regulation.
But these are fees.
Great question though,
Are
Chuck.
we gonna have penalties for?
That's what I was asking.
In the rule and regulation of $100, that's what I was asking, I think $100 per month.
He's on vacation and it's.
For,
Non,
for not complying?
complying.
Okay, so it's there, it's there. Okay.
Are you gonna change your motion then, since it's not an ordinance? Because you put an ordinance.
No, he
I
said.
call rule and regulation, I thought. If I
You
didn't,
did.
rules and regulation.
Yeah, you did.
The reason we got involved with Phil on an ordinance has to go through RTN. A rule and regulation we can do on our own. That's the rationale for
That
it.
makes sense.
Finish that. I was asking for clarity on what's stronger and never got it. And so.
So what happens if you're not in compliance? Year 2, you don't pay that annual fee.
We have no teeth.
Why can't you make it a health violation?
Should be able.
It can be.
And You just
It should be a
that
health
box and
violation.
form for the health violator, the health inspector. And if you don't have this, we're gonna put a sticker in your window and 7 days later, you're out of business.
I'd have to talk to Sans Cleary about that. I don't know if that's what, they have their set of rules and if you can just add to them, but you could ask, we should ask.
The newspaper and what we're doing, just done in the, to do it as a
I'm sure
proposal.
there's a lot of steps involved, but
We have to solve the other part of it, which is,
Go by federal inspection guidelines, if that's part of it.
Finish the vote. You only did.
Yeah, that would be
then
bad.
is it or
Well,
not?
I guess is this the same thing as the rates where we'd have to publish it? Oh, so that's just for proposed anyway.
it's proposed. No, it's only proposed. We have to
Okay.
go with it.
Okay, so proposal passed.
I will ask that question
I don't even know.
by text, but it's an interesting
Or so does it?
whether or not you can add
It does, so it-
You know, kind of the one, I don't,
on top of, or what.
annual 150,
If it's part of the
Like it.
like
health inspection guidelines, they would be doing
to the
it.
point of punishing people.
Not, so it's probably not.
Following.
Can you add it as a local?
can a local,
we're out. I think we're, the market.
you can call it a health violation if it hits the
You vote again.
water plant.
Either way, it's cheaper than cable.
I think that's minority on this.
It's cheaper than every utility.
I like the 200 for the first because people are going to pay.
That would affect residents and beyond.
I came in with a proposal of 125 when I came in, and this raised it to
Well, I
150.
wanted to cover the,
Down to the plant.
an inspector. I mean, our problem is the lack of anybody,
We said.
so
There's no that years ago, right here.
Down to the plant.
I just wanted to fund it.
So.
You're gonna get the same amount of money next year that we get right
I mean, I don't know the
Conversations going on.
I also, we don't know that we actually finished the vote on that one. So that's, I guess that's the hang up. Do we actually have to have an approved?
Men have to go out.
Yeah, we need
Look at him.
Came into
gavel. All right, so we're still on discussing proposed fog rates.
Right.
There's some comments about,
There's a motion now, but I want to make an amendment.
some discussion, I guess, right?
Make an amendment to the motion to change the annual rate from 150 to 125. Right, because you had two,
Second,
The proposed rate.
or do you need a second? How does this work?
the proposed rate,
renewal or the application
the renewal.
Renewal.
from 100 to 125. Is that
Well,
correct?
he
I was,
made a motion,
Made it to 150.
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
I'll make an amendment to
Like,
make it
amend to
125. Discussion on that.
Second.
yeah, okay.
You have a
So
discussion?
200 on initial, 125 on renewal.
Well, if you can make it a requirement, then you can collect on the 400 and then you have a much bigger number to deal with. Got to collect at 16,000 a year, you know.
I'm fine with it.
I'm okay with the 125
Yeah.
myself because that's what I
One-
originally came in with.
Right, okay, that's fine. So now do we need to, what
We
do we have to do?
Voting on
vote on
the
the amendment.
first.
Okay. Motion, or do we just vote?
Just all in favor
All in
of
favor
the amendment.
of the amendment?
To 125.
Everyone except Chris.
Ron didn't put up. his hand.
No, Ron did. Yeah.
All right.
So everyone in favor except for Chris, against?
I'm voting against it.
Okay, Chris is against.
All right. So that passes.
So it passes.
You got the original vote on the table.
As
Vote on that.
To clarify, I said, I'm
I
okay with it.
don't know. We're-
Raising the initial application to 200 and now the renewal application
Okay.
to 125 is
Right.
now on the table.
So now we're voting on the initial application being raised from 150 to 200 and the renewal being raised from 100 to 125. All in favor?
proposed.
Proposed.
Rule and regulation proposed.
Rule and regulation proposed. All in favor? Everyone except Chris, against? Chris, all right. Passes. Proposed motion passes. Status update on sewer bypasses.
None.
Excellent. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
The rain tonight.
I know, wait till next. month.
Second?
That'll be in the August, that'll be in the August meeting.
Thank you.
I didn't get a second on the adjourn.
Second.
No, all in favor?
Thanks, Ron.
All right, good night, everybody.